The lighting in this place seemed to flicker from a sickly green to a cold blue to a blinding white and back again, almost serving to highlight just how empty it was. The hospital really was just dead, devoid of staff or patients and as silent as the grave. I wandered through, goosebumps erupting on my skin as I shuddered with anxiety and chill. The pandemic was still raging outside. Why wasn't anyone here? Where had all the sick people gone? I shuddered again, shrinking inwards as if to shy away from the air around me, afraid of any infection that could linger in the space. I reminded myself not to touch anything. Where was everyone? I straightened up, trying to shake off the gnawing fear that ate at my insides. I had a job to do. Fuck, it was cold. The sickness had been spreading for a while now. No one was really sure where or how it started, but it was taking over far too fast for anyone to really react. No one was even sure really what it was. There was a lot of blood and degradation. The skin would become raw, opening up in gaping sores, and the coughing and the gasping and the blood in the lungs and the drowning and the infection, and it was a long way from being cured, and every hospital was needed. So where is everyone? The streets were deserted. That was understandable. No one wanted to be out with something so infectious and deadly rampant, and the army was very adamant about containing the plague, but hospitals... That was my job. I had to find out what happened here. An admin station stood before me. Computers switched off and papers scattered haphazardly every which way with no indication of what transpired. I switched on the computer. The screen flickered at me irately, demanding to know who dared disturb its slumber. I hesitated. The computer certainly wasn't working optimally, flashing and distorting at random moments as I paused, wondering how to respond to the request for login details. After a few attempts, I managed to get in. Nothing. It was blank. They'd wiped it. They bloody wiped the system. Fuck's sake. I shoved the spinny chair away in frustration. What was that? A noise. From above. It had to be a person. There's at least one other person in this hospital. With convicted, yet careful steps I strode onward, past the empty beds, past the dead machines with their loose tendrils not connected to anyone, past the stationary wheelchairs and crowds of tall ivy drip stands, all while the lighting hummed and flashed green to blue to white again. Should I take the lift? Nah, best not. As I made my way up the staircase, I heard more noises. The clatter of wheels, squeaking across the tight lino floor, laboured footsteps. A patient. Had to be. I braced myself, ready to stay as far away from them as possible. I pushed the door open, already cringing away from this poor soul. The figure was shuffling along, gripping an IV drip stand. They turned to look at me. A girl. Or a woman. I actually couldn't tell how old she was. She had straight brown hair, cut into a flat bob, somewhat like how one would imagine a primary school teacher, aged prematurely by her rambunctious pupils. But she was short, and something in her face told me she was not in the same place that I was. Hey, are you okay? She was smiling at me. Yeah, her voice childlike as she watched me edge closer. She wasn't infected. Do you know what happened here? She shrugged. Is there anyone else here? Her smile broadened. My dad's coming to pick me up later. I doubted that. Do you know where everyone went? I can't wait to see my dad. The people. Where did all the people go? You can meet my dad! I could see I wasn't going to get much out of this girl. I continued walking on, her shuffling beside me, dragging her drip stand with her. I wondered, if not the disease thoroughly fucking the world into the ground, what she had been hospitalised for in the first place. She seemed utterly oblivious to anything that had transpired. There didn't seem to be any sign of fear or trauma, physical or emotional. She just carried on next to me, chatting away about how excited she was, more to herself than me. I wondered if it even mattered whether I was there or not. She clearly wasn't in a headspace for a two-way conversation. Every part of the hospital seemed to look the same. The mild disarray suggesting there had been a rush to leave, but nothing sinister. No blood or debris, just an untidiness that one just doesn't expect from a hospital, occupied or not. Beds lined up, most unmade, admin desks with files and papers haphazardly scattered, equipment just lying about with no care for being put out or put away properly and safely, just abandoned. And this girl couldn't, or wouldn't, tell me a single thing about it. Fully suited up in a dark hazmat, a gas mask protruding from his face, wielding a cannon, a man appeared in front of us. I grabbed the girl instinctively. She seemed not to notice. "Hey, easy! We're just..." He fired the cannon, purple liquid misting into the air and dripping onto the floor, missing us by inches. I coughed, the sharp scent slicing through my nasal passages. More of them appeared. I shouted some more, trying to reason with them. It was no use. They fired again. This time they didn't miss. I screamed in agony as the disinfectant hit my skin. Acidic and sizzling as it burned, and my eyes stung, watching the fresh caustic marks bloom and blossom as it ate at my flesh. I looked next to me. The girl was burned too. She seemed not to notice. The disinfectant ran down her temple, scorching her cheek as she muttered happily to herself. I engaged one of them, kicking and punching where I could. The hazmat suits were designed to prevent infection, but not my fucking hands. The order was given to disperse, and I sighed. Too tired, too scared, too injured to give chase. "Are you all right?" I gripped the girl's shoulders. Hey! She giggled. "Yeah, my dad's coming soon." Did she not feel the acid on her skin? Okay, hun, let's get out of here, yeah? We'll find your dad in a bit. Okay. We carried on, my arm and neck screaming from where the disinfectant had got to me. Blood was running down. We needed to carry on. Whether or not I found answers, I needed to get out safely. Heavy footsteps round a corner. A group of them. Walkie-talkies. Soldiers. Heavily armoured. Heavily armed. I froze. Arms up. "Don't shoot!" I yelled. The girl was a little ways behind me now, ambling on, chatting away to herself. Their guns on her too. For a second, everything was still, and the exit was clear. I bolted. They rained bullets, spraying their ammo like the disinfectant. I lay on the floor, red smeared around me, pain becoming my body, and I looked at the girl, a few meters away from my outstretched hand, her IV stand knocked over, her face down in her own blood. "My dad's coming to pick me up later. I can't wait to see him."